So, this one gonna be about another rule, or I guess and hope more than one rule. And with this being said, hello and welcome back to the next episode of the Self-Development with Tactics podcast. And I hope the audio quality today is actually a little bit better because I somehow tweaked it a little bit so that the gain isn't as much, or that the audio isn't actually as loud as it was, because it actually was really fucking loud. I don't know if it's better this way, but I'm gonna see. I'm really gonna see if this is just better or not, or even worse. I hope it's not worse. I really hope it's not. But yeah. I hope you're doing great. I'm doing fucking great. Today actually it's just something changed up, because I actually just were eating something, because I came home really recently, and I actually just am recording directly after I've been eating something, which is somehow very unusual, because most of the time, or just quite always, I'm just taking a shower right afterwards, and then I'm actually just recording. But this time I'm gonna make it just like first record and then just the recording. But yeah. And today we're actually going ahead with the 12 rules of life by Jordan B Peterson, which is an incredible book, I'd say. The first rule as such was so great. I just really enjoyed it. I really loved going through it, and it was really something to just quite enjoy. It was really something enjoyable, and also with a lot of knowledge inside. So it's not like it's quite like I don't care about it or something. It's just a lot of great information. And this is actually one of the reasons why I quite just ask myself why I'm quite often struggling with actually getting resources for what I'm quite doing. So for actually making the posts, every single day it's just really something like, okay, just have to think about something, and there has to be something, and then I'm just coming up with something, even though I'm just going through such a lot of things, and it shouldn't be just so bad actually getting to some information. But we will go ahead with rule 2, which is treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. People are better at filling, and just remember, let's put everything out. So treat yourself like someone you're responsible for helping. People are better at filling prescriptions for their dogs than for their pets, even though taking drugs is literally life-saving. But why? But why do people do this? But I still just have to actually turn that on. I'm just thinking or asking myself if there's actually a writing mistake, because they say people are better at filling prescriptions for their dogs than for their pets. Like, isn't it the same thing? I guess the author just means people like to take more care about their dogs than on themselves. Like they just really treat their dogs just really great, and they get the best food and whatsoever. But most of the time, people actually don't treat themselves or not taking care about them just as they should be doing. And one of the funniest things I guess you can see is that people will buy just really, really, really expensive food for their pets, whether it be their cat or whether it be their dog. Their food is definitely very expensive. The thing there is, do they know if this is just tasting better for the dog or for the cat? Do they really know that? No, they don't. So why do they even just buy such an incredibly expensive product? Why do they? And I'm just really thinking about it, and I don't know. This is actually some of a phenomenon, I guess, that also Seth Godin was talking about in not how to win friends and influence people, but this is marketing. It is just really interesting that people actually just really take more care of their dogs than of themselves. So in 12 Rules for Life, Peterson suggests the root of this is self-loathing. That we understand our faults completely better than any outside observer and believe we aren't worth helping. No one has more reason to see you as pathetic, and by withholding something that does you good, to punish yourself for your failings. Totally true, Why would you just punish yourself for your own mistakes? You made a mistake, it's okay, just deal with it somehow. I totally understand that there are some severe mistakes and failures and whatsoever, and there are just some things that are like, I don't give a fuck. And you just have to take it somehow. You just have to be not crippling yourself, because if you're really crippling yourself, it doesn't quite make anything better. So why would you? The only thing that you're actually doing is making it worse. You're really making it worse because you're feeling bad about yourself. You're just, kind of, dwelling around. You're just complaining. I didn't want to do this and whatsoever. You did it. It's fine. You're not gonna do it as well, or not as well, but again, and it's just it. Just deal with. I don't know what came out of it, but so he uses the biblical story of Adam and Eve as the origination of seeing God good and evil, and how this original sin carries into us today. Why should anyone take care of anyone as naked, ugly, ashamed, worthless, resentful, accusatory as a descendant of Adam? The worst, which is totally true, Why would we actually just help others more and take more care of them? And they're quite the same as we are, Maybe they are looking different, maybe they are acting different, but we are both humans. And I guess, if you're not taking care of yourself, you aren't also able to just take care of somebody else. It's just not possible. If you're dead, you can't do anything about it and, with your life then, because there is no. So yeah. And the worst of all possible snakes is the eternal human proclivity for evil. We know how corruptible and evil we can be, which increases loathing for mankind and self. In contrast, our pets and our children are faultless. They don't know any better. They are innocent, so they deserve all the help we give them. Which makes sense, it totally makes sense that people think this way, because it's actually somehow true, These are really innocent people or creatures. Maybe it's a little bit like I don't know if creatures is actually the right word actually to use there, but I guess it makes sense. We just consciously know what we are doing. Just children don't, and pets also don't, and so why would we or why would you just be, I don't know, maybe too hard to them or so hard to them than you're to yourself? It would at least make sense for me. I don't know how you're feeling about this. If you want to tell me, just, write me directly now on Instagram. Just stop the video and pause it and just write me a DM on Instagram or on Facebook or on Twitter, whatever platform you like the most. Just totally into it. I'm really in it. Would really be nice. You would just actually make my day, to be honest. The solution there is believe that you're worth helping. You have a vital mission in this world, and you are important in this world to others, and you are morally obligated or obliged. It is OBLIGED to take care of yourself, which is basically like, you're taking yourself as another person and being like, okay, if I can't help myself, which is basically the exact same thing as I was talking about before. If I can't help myself, or if I'm feeling bad, I'm also not quite able to just help somebody else. So why wouldn't I take care of myself properly? Period. It doesn't make any fucking sense. You want to help other people, so you just have to help yourself first. And you're not your own possession to torture and mistreat because your being is tied up with that of others, and mistreating yourself will harm others. Somehow, eventually, yes, because we are living in a very, very close, I guess, and I just assume, society and area and whatsoever, however you want to call it, but it's actually the case. We are all just somehow connected, whether it be just we are both in the same school, or we just have the same work to do, or we're just friends or whatsoever. And chances are pretty high that if you are feeling good, you could also make others feel bad. Or if you're feeling bad, chances are pretty high that you're also making others feel bad just because you're feeling bad, and you just somehow have this something like an atmosphere around you and an aura or whatever you want to call it, and then people feel negative just because you are there. And I guess this is not something you want to be or you want to do. So take care of yourself, But I still just understand that people don't. I understand it. I don't know, because actually helping others is a lot of fun and it feels great, but helping yourself doesn't quite feel as nearly as great as actually helping others. So for me, it actually makes sense why people are actually doing this. Look at all the wonders and comforts of the modern world. Electricity, running water, plentiful food, but together by people like you for the benefit, put together by people like you for the benefit of others. You deserve sympathy for merely being alive and shouldering the burden of existence. Reject virtuous self-sacrifice, don't suffer silently when someone demands more from you than is afforded in return. Then you are supporting tyranny. This means taking care of yourself, getting healthier physically and mentally, very, very important. I guess even though we are also aware that just mental illnesses and mental problems are nothing to just make fun about or make fun of, because they're very, very severe. You could just wholly fuck your whole entire life just because you have some mental illness or some mental issues. And so I guess it's more and more important to actually just talk about it more openly, like just normally, like about every fucking single other topic as well. We are all talking about things, so why wouldn't you also just talk about the mental problems and whatsoever? Expanding your knowledge, very important, I guess, because I think it somehow just lets you be able to really expand your horizon first of all, and through this I guess you can actually also recognize more things, like what's going on with yourself and what's going on with the world. And it always depends on what you're educating yourself on, if it's computer games or if it's fucking science or something. It always depends, but it makes sense, at least for me. Pursuing goals, which is important, and articulating your principles. You must keep the promises you make to yourself. Think, what might my life look like? I'm sorry. So think, what might my life look like if I were caring for myself properly? Vision and direction are irresistible forces able to transform unconquerable obstacles into traversable pathways. Nietzsche, it is Nietzsche. He whose life has a why can bear almost anyhow. Definitely a very, very famous quote of the man Nietzsche, somehow, I don't fucking know. But it's very, 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 very famous, I think. You know what your personal hell is like? Decide against going there or creating that. Also makes sense. So, because why would you just make your own fucking just hell? Why would you? Minor points in this chapter. Our conceptions of categories, male or female, parent and child, have existed for so long that inevitably we mapped our cultural constructs to it. And thus, order is typified as male and chaos as female. More on this is a later chapter, which is, I think, very, very interesting, because I would, if you would just totally show me these names or these just definitions or words or I don't know, whatever, I would actually say that male is more like chaos and female is more like ordered, and everything is like tidied up and whatsoever, and what the actual opposition of chaos actually is, I don't fucking know. In the past, our cultural leaders were more concerned with survival than with objective truth, which is why they captured subjective experience in narratives. Why are people ashamed of nakedness? This might be a cultural custom to protect our bodies from harm, yet we get injured rarely these days. Why doesn't it persist? It might also be the desist or desist straying from our relationship. There is more tension when a person's body is exposed, and covering it up invites more stability. We might habituate to it, though. Nakedness is only so enticing because we see so little of it. Which makes sense, which totally is the truth. If you would just see everybody naked, I guess it wasn't something that's so incredibly, I don't know, just insane maybe, and incredibly arousing as well. I really think that, if everybody was naked all the fucking time, I don't know, I think people wouldn't think as much, if you know what I mean. Rule 3, make friends with people who want the best for you. Very important chapter, and also just kind of underlined it a few times actually when I was just reading through the little summary of this rule. Just I think in the first, it actually should be the first episode of the whole experience now, and I guess it's very important. And this is actually something that I quite recently have seen. I really did, because I don't know, I guess it is just very big, because I've never felt like, people that are actually around me somehow really influence me. I really never felt like, they're influencing me so highly or so much actually. And as I realized it just somehow just made click, and I just realized it, and I've just seen, okay, it is actually the truth. The people who are around you, the people who surround you, and the people you're hanging around with actually do just influence you a lot, and maybe also change you a lot. Whatever you're just thinking about when you think about influencing. So this chapter of the 12 Rules for Life summary is similar to the adage. You're the average of your 5 best friends, with more focus on why you might be hanging around people are bad for you. Do you have a person you spend a lot of time with, who you feel is dragging you down, doesn't support your personal growth, and whose goals don't align well with yours? Consider why you're still with this person. You may feel like you can rescue this person, especially if there's a recognizable difference in status. But consider the other insidious malevolent factors that could be at play. I actually understand this. I really understand this, but I don't think, actually somehow, I just have to plug in my fucking PC. I'm sorry. Just a second. Just a really tiny second. Always something bad if you just, have to take your cables with you all the fucking time, and then, at home you just need them, and then you have to just untie them and, whatsoever, and then, yeah. But I shouldn't complain. My life is great. My life is really fucking great, It's really fucking great, and nobody who's fucking living in Europe and that's somehow similarly or having a similar life than I'm having, no one of these people should ever complain. At least not when I'm around, because I don't fucking know why. We have just everything. We have water, we have food, we have just people, which is also very, very important for our mental health. We can do a lot, but the problem there is not a lot of people do something, whether it be about actually just trying to get to your dreams or pursue your dreams, and or actually just, I don't know, not just wasting your fucking time all the fucking time, I don't know, I quite don't understand it, why so much people who actually are in such a good position do nothing, we have the internet, we all have a stable connection and everything is great. We could do something there, or we could just go for our dreams, It's definitely not something like, something that's not very typical, I'd say, that people actually go for their dreams, which is a shame, which is very fucking fucked up. Because why? Because why? Why don't people just go for the dream and try it out and whatsoever? We have, most of the people who are living in Europe, or quite a lot of people, I'd say. I'm just not willing to talk about it in such a good manner, because I think there are a lot of very poor people. That there definitely are, but yeah, you can still do something. You can just try. We all have just some income, our parents and whatsoever, and you can still just live at their house or their flat and whatsoever. And it's hard for me to explain, but I just don't understand why people don't take the leap for actually doing it. But yeah, so why you stay with this person? You have a savior complex. The idea of rescuing another person assuages or assuages your ego and makes you feel virtuous. If you're really such a person, is I think actually great, because you're very, very social and empathetical and whatsoever, it's great. But this could also harm you, if you're just really hanging around with people who are just so fucking negative all the fucking time. Yeah, I wouldn't wonder if it actually is just you after, 10 years of actually hanging around with these people, because these influence you. These people really influence you. And the person's lower status makes you feel better about your own. Someone whose marriage is failing apart or falling apart makes you feel better about your own rocky one. Conversely, it's intimidating for you to be around people who make you feel less accomplished. You want to exercise power over someone lower, possibly because you feel that because you feel that you are yourself exploited. What? Never mind. The superficial motions of ineffective mentoring distracts you from your own unwillingness to pursue a real, meaningful goal. You are too weak-willed and indecisive to leave, which is, I guess, most of the time actually the case. A lot of people I think they just. I don't really want to say courage, because I think courage isn't the right word to use there, but I think there's a lot of fear around. I think in general in people there's a lot of fear, and I understand it. There are a lot of things going on, and actually all the people say, at least in my country, that years ago everything was just more secure and whatsoever, and a few of them are just, then talking about foreign people who are from foreign countries and whatsoever, so immigrants basically, and they just blame them for actually not being or feeling secure in their own fucking town and whatsoever. But I totally think that there's a lot of fear outside there, and the problem there is that I'm seeing is, even with myself, I do have fears as well. I'm not really acting like, I'm also always talking about other people. It's not like I'm just, feeling like this as well. I have fear as well. I totally have, whether it be from, great heights, this is one of my fears, but this makes sense to me because my fucking brain wants me to survive and not fucking die. And but there are some fears I do not understand about myself, which is, for example, talking to certain people. I don't know quite, from the really bottom of my fucking soul, I just can't and want to, I think more want than can't, want to talk to certain people. And I quite also don't want to ask for help quite often, which is something I particularly don't like somehow. I really don't like the feeling of getting helped or being helped or whatever. And also, like, yeah, there are quite a lot of fears, I think, that are just synthesized. Like, they're just artificial. Like, the real fears, I guess, that are just, really deeply rooted in our bodies and our minds and our souls, are these things that really let us survive. Whether it be, I don't know, the fear of dying, or the fear of having nothing to eat, or the fear of being alone, or some shit like this, because these things make sense. These make sense because we just have to survive, and our brain wants you to survive. But I think there are just some new ones as well, whether it be about talking to people, whether it be about asking the girl out or asking the boy out. There are such a lot of things, I guess, who just became a fear. But yeah. Why the other person sticks around. They benefit from exploit your generosity, and when that runs out, they move on to another willing patron. They want to drag you down to their level, and they may not realize they're doing this and want to believe their actions are genuine. This may be to put off the realization that they have given up and don't care about improving. People who don't want to improve can't be helped. It's very difficult to overturn this foundational layer and convince someone to change for the better. Which is actually something that I've been quite talking about relatively often, I'd say, and which makes sense. If a person isn't really willing to internally, I just really want to underline and point out internally change. You can't do it externally. You can talk to this person as much as you want to. If this person doesn't feel the urge to really change internally from just their internal points of views or from the internal person, they won't just fucking change if you're just telling them to change, But I do just have to say, I think there are some ways you can just, move people to do something. And then it's just because they are willing to do it, because they have the internal drive to do certain things, not like only you're telling them to do these certain things. But yeah. Maybe they don't believe they deserve to be helped, or they don't go looking for it. And they may want to repeat the horrors of the past, sometimes to feel as though they have agency over their suffering, sometimes because there is no alternative. They may want to continue feeling like a victim of life horrors rather than taking personal responsibility for what's under their control. All of this is dramatized to the extreme, and Peterson recognizes that if the relationship is genuine and there's sincere desire to improve, then it is still worth maintaining. But this is hard to discern, so reflect and see if any of the above elements are true. So if the person you're helping accepts any personal responsibility, is a red flag. If they are merely the victim of endless external causes. And something in brackets, which is something from the author of this article. If elements of this are true, one might suspect the intention of some practitioners in superficially good positions, like charity work, therapists, even doctors. Bad actors in these positions could really cause harm. The above attributes may not apply. Instead, you might all be bound by an implicit contract aimed at nihilism and failure. You've decided to sacrifice the future for the present. No one mentions it, but everyone knows what the game is. What the fucking game is. And this is actually it with the episode. this is just it. Even though, can I? No, I just gone through it. I'm going to go through it, or go through this third section just really, really quickly, so that we're just finishing. It is much easier to fall into vice than virtue. Nihilism is easy. Nothing in the world matters. There is no point to doing anything, so why bother? It is easier not to shoulder a burden, not to think, not to care. Pick one or two bad habits and indulge, and you can fail or fall into a deep chasm. Finally, studies above that pulling a problematic person. Where did I stop? Blah 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 blah. I'm sorry. I'm very sorry. That pulling a problematic person into a team lowers the team's overall efficiency. In essence, the team falls to the lowest common denominator. In brackets, various mechanisms might contribute. The high performers may feel resentment of others not carrying their weight. The higher performers may have to cover for the lower performers. In this hardening study, at risk a youth who received counseling and academic tutoring showed worse outcomes than the control group. If you wouldn't recommend your friendship to your brother or your parent, why would you have such a friend for yourself? Actually, a great question. I like this one. I really like this one. If the friendship isn't a charity case, be wary of people who insidiously drag you down. They belittle your personal ambition because they are embarrassed about lack of their own. They override your accomplishments with their own, real or imaginary. Instead, surround yourself with people who support you and want to see you succeed. You will push each other to great heights, and your goals will reinforce the others, and each person's life improves as the others improve. They won't tolerate your cynicism and destructiveness, and they will punish you when you mistreat yourself. And with this being said, this is now the end of the episode. Sorry for repeating that. I don't know why. I hope you got something out of it. It was a good episode, I guess. But yeah, I wish you the best health, wealth, happiness, and success. And yeah, if there's something, always hit me up. Just hit me up, and you can eventually talk to me. If I'm there and if I'm not in school, there's totally time for doing this. But don't forget about how you're gonna be remembered. So actually just being nice to the people and just taking care about them or of them, and actually just giving something back to them or actually the world. And with that being said, I wish you the best, and I'll see you. Bye.